Good evening once again. I'm happy to be here with you all. My name is Adebola Adefioye, and I'm happy to be facilitating the session tonight. The topic is Grant Writing 101, a basic guide to finding and applying for grants. I am very excited about this topic. I've been writing grant applications at the Afro Women and Youth Foundation for some years, and I'm just going to be sharing some tips that I've found over the years, and that has been very helpful for me. And hopefully it's applicable to you all for your various businesses or nonprofits, whether now or in the future. Okay. All right, Karen did the land acknowledgement already, so I'm not going to waste time to do that. Okay. So I've been working in the nonprofit sector for over 15 years. I started in Nigeria, in my community in Ibadan, and also in Lagos before moving to Canada about 10 years ago. And I've also continued the work in Canada. Started from Toronto, did some work in Newmarket in New York region, and I've been in Sudbury since 2021. And from 2019 that I started the Afro Women and Youth Foundation till date, I have been writing grant applications to make our programs and events successful and also sustainable. It's not been very easy, but again, we just keep searching and keep writing and saying how we can secure funding to get the money, the programs going. Okay, so because I lead the grant applications, serve as the grant writer and executive director, we have been able to help AWYF to secure funding at the federal level, provincial level, municipal level, and also some corporate funding. And I like to say that we're not there yet. We're still navigating sustainability, which is always a challenge from a lot of businesses and nonprofit organizations. Sustainability is always a big challenge. However, we're taking it one step at a time. So the logos that I have on the screen, these are some of the organizations that I have written grant applications to, and we have been successful with them. And so some of the skills and strategies that I've used are things that I'm going to be sharing in the next, I believe, about 45 to 50 minutes. All right, so moving forward. Okay, so the agenda for tonight, we're going to be doing just a little bit a quick icebreaker, and then we're going to be looking at understanding grants and funding, types of funding. Oh, I wrote understanding grants and funding twice. Types of funding, finding the right grants, some key considerations that you should be looking at, and also capacity building and project considerations. Okay, so I don't know how many people we have on the call. I think I see 7 people. I'm not able to see everyone because I'm sharing my screen, but I like to have people engage when I'm facilitating. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, maybe quickly your name, and then describe one project that you'd love to get grant for and why you think it should be funded. So tell us your name and tell us one project that you have, maybe not your own project, but maybe someone else's project that you know that you think deserves to be funded and why you think so. So I'd like to hear from some of you before we move forward. Feel free to unmute and respond because I'm not able to see everyone, like I said.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
My name is Gina, and one project that I would really love more funding for. So I work for AWYF, and our funding runs out in March, and I would really love for us to be renewed and get more funding. So I'm very excited to learn more, and I think we should get it because we have so much work to do, and we're hoping that we can finally get funding that we can redistribute to entrepreneurs.
Oh, that's amazing. So I think two things stood out from what you just said. So the work that NoBeep does is visible in the community, and the fact that I like how you ended it, getting more money to be able to give to entrepreneurs in the community. So it's to keep your programming going and also to support the small business owners that you're supporting at NoBeep. So two valid reasons. Thank you for sharing. Maybe one or two more people, and then we'll move forward.
Hello, my name is Sabna. I'll be a bit collective. I would like to see the organizations within the Black community, Northern Ontario, get founded because the little knowledge I've come to realize is that there are huge deficits in comparison with other nonprofits for the white community that makes sustainability so difficult for most nonprofits around here. So I would like to see the nonprofit organizations, particularly in Sudbury, grow and have funding to keep it sustainable.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. And that's just the fact because the numbers shows that Black-led organizations or racialized organizations get less funding. Yeah, but again, thank you for advocating for us and for focusing on Sudbury because that's where we live and grow. And we're hopeful that we get more money, more funding to be able to continue the amazing work that is being done in the community. Thank you. Any other person? Okay, so we heard about NoBeep and also in general, the Black community in Sudbury needs more funding to continue the work. The population in Sudbury is growing and it's growing with a lot of racialized immigrants coming in on a daily basis. The Black community is growing. So there's need for programming to be able to support them as they settle into the community. So obviously there's more money needed to be able to run those programming, to be able to make them sustainable, to make them impactful, so that it can have economic benefits for the city of Sudbury. So thank you for sharing. I just wanted us to have a chat about this so that we can begin to think about our projects, funding, and why it should be funded, because those are three key areas that we need to be focusing on. All right, so understanding grants and funding, those are two terms that are usually used interchangeably. And funding is the big picture, the big umbrella. However, grants can be for one specific, it can be a specific type of funding. So again, you hear people saying, oh, we're looking for funding, we're looking for funding. And then somebody says, oh, I just got grant for this project. So again, the funding is like the big picture, and then grants can be narrowed down to a specific project. But again, both can also be used interchangeably depending on what we're talking about and who we're speaking to. All right, so when we're talking about funding, we're looking at government funding, which can be federal, provincial, and also municipal funding. There's also corporate or business funding. The federal, provincial, and municipal funding. So when you just a simple Google search, it will bring you a list of federal funding. And then in our community, for example, the NOHFC, FedNor, those are federal funding. The summer grants, those are kind of examples of federal funding. And then there's also other funding. For example, when COVID happened and there was some funding in different communities, through United Way or through Red Cross. Again, those were federal funding that were now coming into different communities and being distributed or being given out by organizations like United Way or the Red Cross. So provincial funding, we could talk about examples like the Ontario Trillium funding. And also when we talk about municipal funding, we're talking about the funding like the arts and culture funding, funding from the city of Sudbury, maybe from the economic development department of the city of Sudbury. So those are like funding from the municipal government. And that could also look like funding from children's services for childcare programming or for early on programming related projects. So those are like federal, provincial, and municipal funding. And every city or every government, whether federal, provincial, or even at the local level, which is the municipal, they all have budgets and some form of funding available. So, but if we're not searching, we will not know what's available and what we can benefit from towards the project that we're running. So corporate and business funding. So for example, TD, they have already commitment funding. There's RBC funding. There's also the Bill, Let's Talk, and so many other ones like that. A lot of times those are funding for corporate social responsibilities. And then foundation funding, we have the Canadian Women's Foundation, Lawson Foundation, and there's so many of them. There's also Catherine Donnelly Foundation. Then we have community funding, which can be the GoFundMe or Kickstarter. And that's where you kind of decide what it is that you need and you put the funding out there. People can share and start donating. And then a lot of times people meet their targets. Sometimes they don't, but it also depends on what exactly that you're looking for. Some people have preference for a type of funding compared to others. However, as new business people or leaders of nonprofit, you want to explore all the possible available funding and see which one aligns best with your project and which one do you think will be a perfect fit for the project that you're running. Specialized and sector-based funding can be maybe funding directed to childcare programming or childcare sector, or maybe small businesses, for example. So again, you have to check and see what's available for the sector of your work and see how you are eligible or how your project aligns with the funding available. So arts and culture funding is another one. There's the Ontario Arts Culture, there's Canada Council for the Arts, and there's also arts and culture grants, which is again available in our community. So there's need for some research to know which funding is available for your project, and then also again check what the requirements or the eligibility looks like, and see how you can align project to that funding. In terms of research, we have the SHREC, we have the NSCRC, CIHR, and again, these are all funding available for researchers in the community. So let's say you're taking your master's or you're taking your PhD program, or you know somebody in your organization doing that, they may be eligible for some of this funding, and this funding can be as high as 20,000 or even more than that if it's postdoctoral research. So again, it depends on who is doing the application, what kind of work they're doing in the community for them to be eligible for this funding. Also, in some cases, there could be people who are eligible for this funding, and maybe you have some project or you have a kind of project that you think will align with the research that somebody is doing, a researcher is doing in the community. There's also room for collaboration. So you don't have to be the only one doing this work. You can also collaborate and work in partnership with people to be able to implement projects in the community. We also have the immigration and settlement funding, the IRCC funding. They usually make calls for their funding. There's provincial newcomer initiatives. Again, we always have to be searching and be on top of, be on this website to be able to get to know when these calls come out. Another thing that one could also do is to sign up. So when you sign up for newsletters, when this funding calls happens, they will definitely, you get an email saying, oh, there's a call for application for this funding and you can apply for it. All right, so finding the right grants. So let's talk again about what kind of question should I be asking? And just everyone on the call, what kind of questions do you think we should be asking when we're looking for grants? Finding the right grants. What kind of questions are important questions to be asking when we're looking for funding or looking for grants or looking for money to support the work that we're doing, either business or social impact work, community-based project? What kind of questions should we be asking? I see we have more people on the call. You can see we have 18 people already. So yeah, people who just joined us, you're welcome. We did introduction at the beginning, but if you want to answer any question, feel free to tell us your name and then just answer the question. So at this time, we're kind of exploring the kind of questions that we're supposed to be asking when we're looking for grants. When you're searching for grants, what kind of questions should you be asking? I'm not able to see everyone, but feel free to unmute and, respond.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Adebola. My name is Kelu. I think the first thing we should look out for would be eligibility. You do not want to waste your time investing so much into writing a grant, and then you figure out something is missing that does not qualify you. It would be a total waste of time. So the first thing I feel we should look out for is how eligible are we to qualify for this grant?
Absolutely. Eligibility is a very important question to be asking because, again, like you said, you don't want to waste your time. So if you're not eligible, you just pass and start looking for something else instead of taking time to write or look for somebody to help review and all of that. When at the end of the day, it's going to come back as, oh, sorry, you're not eligible. They may not even get back to you once they see that you're not eligible. So thanks for highlighting that, Kelly. Any other pressing thoughts about the kind of questions that we're supposed to be asking?
I believe also how best the project you are going to do aligns with the particular grant, because more often than not, projects need to be tweaked a bit to align with particular grants.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abena, for sharing that. I think the alignment is also very, very important. You could be eligible and have a project that does not align with funding priorities. And again, that's going to be another waste of time if it does not align correctly, or you're trying to kind of just fit it in and it's still not fitting in. Sometimes we can try to fit it in and it to align, maybe because what the funding priorities, what the focus of the funding priorities aligns maybe with the mission of your organization, and kind of with the type of programming that you're running, and then you can kind of tweak it a little bit and it looks good. But if it's still, you're trying to do it and it's not looking like it, it's better to step away and not just waste your time. So thank you for highlighting that, eligibility and also alignment. Thank you. Any other person? One last person before we move forward?
Yes, that is all right. Come on.
Karen, are you able to mute everyone so that people who want to speak will just unmute? Any other person who would like to answer the question about the questions that we're supposed to be asking? Okay, if there's no other person, I'm going to move forward, and I'm happy that I got those two responses because what they've said actually aligns with what I have on the rest of the slides. So when we're trying to find grants, you want to look at purpose and align. You want to answer the purpose and alignment question. And that can look like, what do I need grants for? So when we started, Gina talked about funding for NOBIP, the need to renew the funding because of the work that has been done. And Abena talked about the need for Black-led organizations in Sudbury to be able to get funding to get their work going. And that was kind of looking at, the collective work that is happening in Sudbury, but by Black-led organizations. So again, what exactly do we need grants for? So for example, at Afro Women and Youth Foundation right now, we have some funding, but we currently need funding, like quick funding for our program coordinators role and also for the admin assistants role. So the funding for these two positions ended and we have not gotten these two positions renewed. So that is very, very important to us. Again, if you're looking at the work that you're doing, what do you need grant for? What do you need the grant for? Is it a new project that you're launching? Is it something that you've done for maybe like a year and you've not had any funding, but you think that right now you need to get money to move it going? So those are like strong rationale, but again, you decide what is strong in your rationale, like the reasons why you need the money. So is it for programming? Is it for operations? Is it for equipment? Is it for research? Is it for events or for training? So when we started Afro Women and Youth Foundation in Sudbury in 2021, we reached out to an organization and they said, oh, we don't have money, but we can help you with some equipment. So So they raised money on their website, and they were able to buy us computer and buy printer and scanner and all of that. So those items were ways that they supported us. So again, if we're looking, and I think that was a little less than $1,000 was what they used for that. So if you're starting, like you're doing a new, you're running a new project or a new organization, you have to know what exactly you need money for. Is it for staffing? And if it is for staffing, if the funding you're searching for is giving money towards projects, so maybe you won't be able to use the money for staffing. You'll be able to use it to pay maybe a program coordinator, for example, right? So you have to know what exactly you need money for. The second question will be like, does the project align with the funder's mission, values, and priorities? There's always funding priorities for every funder. So again, you want to check their funding priorities to know, does it align? Are they funding women's project? Are they funding men's initiative? Are they funding family programs? Or are they funding both, right? Or maybe all three that I just listed. Are they putting money into mental health programs or maybe COVID impact recovery? You want to check all of those and see if your project aligns with what you're funding. Is it children? Is it maybe special needs? Children and family, or maybe single parenting or single moms, different projects for different things. Or maybe they have funding for mentorship program and you want to apply for that to be able to get somebody to mentor or to support the work that you're doing. So you want to be sure that your project aligns with the funding priorities. Then, is my target audience or beneficiary group clearly defined? So what is your target group? Is this project focusing on maybe Black-led initiatives, or is it newcomers? Is it youth? Is it families? So you want to be sure what it is that you're focusing on. Some funding will be flexible and allow you to do maybe youth and families, or maybe parents or newcomer moms or newcomer dads. Different. It can be very flexible and open-ended in some cases, but most of the time it's usually specific. So they put 1, 2, 3 is what we're funding, and you have to make sure that your project aligns. And if it doesn't align, there's no point applying. All right. So again, you also want to check about how your idea fits within provincial, municipal, or federal priority areas. For example, social inclusion, mental health, or climate action. So if you're submitting a project that is focusing on climate action for mental health, then it's not gonna fly, except you're able to clearly state how your climate action connects to mental health. So if you're able to make that connection, then you may be able to have a good application. Then which organizations are funding my type of project? So again, you want to look at existing organizations that are funding the kind of projects that you are having or that you want to run. So when you see that, that can also help you to know, okay, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be focusing on. For example, I want to use the Arts and Culture Grant as an example. So it's clearly stated as Arts and Culture Grants. So, and that's what you want to focus on. If you're putting forward a climate action project or climate action idea, it's not likely to connect. What you could also do is to set up a meeting, send an email and ask, can I have a meeting? I want to discuss my project idea. Many of them sometimes have what they call coaching calls, and some of them will respond to emails and jump on a quick Zoom call or a virtual call or even in person to kind of discuss the alignment so that you are sure that you are on the right track. Any questions so far? I don't know if we have questions in the chat. Okay, I think there's something in the chat. Are we going to get this question? No, I don't share I won't be sharing the slides. Yeah, thank you. So, so purpose and alignment questions, and then the next one will be the eligibility questions. So you want to again ask yourself, I think somebody mentioned this at the beginning, am I eligible to apply? And, what kind of organization type are they looking for? Are they looking for a charitable organization? Will a nonprofit suffice for them? Is it enough to be a nonprofit? Does it have to be a social enterprise? Or does it have to be like a grassroots organization? So again, you want to be sure the type of organization that they're looking for. Some of them would also require things like financial statements, and some people would say audited financial statements. So if you have financial statements, but it's not audited, then that may make you ineligible. So does the funder require incorporation, charitable status, nonprofit, grassroots? And then, grassroots organizations are like, okay, you're just coming up and putting this project together, maybe newcomer moms or newcomer dads or new parents group in the community. You don't have to be registered. You don't have to be a nonprofit organization. You don't have to be a charity organization. There are some funders that fund such initiatives too. So again, some can say, oh, you have to have an organization mentor. So which can be an organization that is already a charitable organization or a nonprofit organization. But you have to know which one is the eligibility criteria before you move forward. So Ontario, is it Ontario-based only? Is it specific demographics? And when I say Ontario-based, there's some funders that fund federal projects. So you can be anywhere in Canada and you get their money. Some will be like in Ontario-based. When you hear Ontario Trillium Foundation, you're thinking, okay, maybe it's only Ontario projects that they're funding. Or you hear something British Columbia and you're in Sudbury and you're trying to apply for that. That will not work. So again, you also want to narrow it down to the community where you're living. So in Sudbury, are there funding opportunities available for my project, for my initiatives? You want to check and look it up. Just do like a quick search, funding available in Sudbury. I need to bring you up all the list. And some of them can be as little as maybe $1,000 or maybe 15,000 or for 1,500 or 2,000. They look like small pockets of money. But if you're able to get those to get started, it puts you in a good position to apply for bigger funding, because some of these funding organizations are looking for organizations that have gotten some form of funding. They're not asking you if it's 5 million you got or $5,000. They just want to know, have you been funded before? And then you can add the name to say, oh, this agency or this organization funded our work, right? So that, again, that helps you to build your credibility gradually. You don't get there in one day, but it just keeps you on that journey of, okay, we're kind of moving, we're growing, we're getting things started, and we've gotten support from this organization. All right, so funding details analysis. So again, you want to pause, reflect, rewind. You want to think about these questions that I have. How much funding is available? So some funders would, on their sites, maybe they have $1 million, right? If it's $1 million and or they're asking, you can apply between 200 to 500 or 20,000 to 50,000, and all you need is only 2,000. So you're kind of checking, is this worth my time? Am I going to get a chance, at this kind of funding? So again, you also want to check your annual budget. So if you're just starting and your budget is only at maybe zero in the first year, you're in your second year, you're trying to look for money, you don't have any funding, you've not managed any funds at all, you want to really think about the kind of money that you're chasing, you understand? Because again, if you've not managed any funding, you've not hired any staff, and you're asking for $50,000, like they're also kind of questioning how you want to manage that, right? But if you're not, because they always have questions like, how many staff members do you have? How many volunteers do you have? If you already have maybe 5 staff members and 3 full-time, 2 part-time, so in that, and it gets to the annual budget section and you're saying, oh, your budget is 100,000 a year or 150 a year, and what you're asking for is 50,000, that sounds logic to say, okay, we already gotten 150 and now we're looking for 50, or we're looking for 150, or even maybe looking for 200, but because you already have some form of financial management skills, that can help you. And if you already gotten 100 or 150, then it means that you already have your books, you have your books intact, or, maybe you've done your financial reporting, or maybe you've done your audited statements. And now that way, that kind of gets the funder to really think about, okay, maybe we look at this application closely, right? But if you've not had any funding at all and you're asking for 100,000, again, I wouldn't say don't try, but again, you have to kind of check and see if it's that kind of money you think you'll be eligible for. So grant size, the range or specific amount. Is it one-time funding or multi-year funding? So one-time funding is like, okay, we're giving it to you now. It's for 2026 or 2025, and that's it. We're not giving you for 2 or 3 years. So multi-year funding is when you have funding for, it says maybe 2 to 3 years, and some people have it for 5 years. So 5 years, they're running, they're programming. There's no pressure of, oh, my rent is going to due. They're going to kick me out of this place, out of this space. They have this guarantee that this money will keep coming. It doesn't mean that they get the money paid like one time for 5 years. It's just that some of them would even say maybe 6 months you do your reporting, you get the next installment, right? It goes like that. So multi-year funding is good. However, a lot of times people start with like one-time funding, maybe even just a quick funding of maybe Black History Month is happening and you get 2,000 or 1,000 for Black History Month and you deliver the project and you report it, and then you're looking for something else for another project, right? So again, it's progression. And that, I think it's also helpful when you go, like when you grow and you go like that, because it helps you to know that, okay, this is how these things work, right? So, but again, every organization or every business owner wants to get to the multi-year funding, because that just helps you in terms of sustainability. And whether it's one time or multi-year funding, you want to be checking and thinking about what other ways, can I get funding? So when you get one-time funding, you're not saying, oh, now we can relax. No, the moment you start looking for funding, you want to keep checking and keep searching. When one is successful, you're also looking for other ways and other funding sources to keep your work sustainable, especially when you know that your work is impactful, it is needed, and it is transforming lives. All right, so what percentage of my total project cost would this cover? So again, you also want to check this money that I'm getting or this funding that I'm getting, what percentage will it cover? And some would even say, okay, we only have funding to cover 50% of your project. So that means if your project is 100,000, the funding is only giving you 50. How do you get the remaining 50? Some would even ask you to state how you will get the remaining 50. And that is part of the things you're looking at to be able to say you're successful or not. So again, all of these questions are things that you really need to pay attention to. You need to make a good analysis, take your time, answer the questions. You could even copy those questions and put on a Google Doc and keep, reviewing and adding to the answers, and, get somebody who is more knowledgeable to maybe help you or review with you, brainstorm together, just to be sure that you're on the right path. And I said earlier, some of these organizations do like coaching calls. You can send emails to make an appointment and share your ideas. They'll tell you they're not able to give you like direct answers. You cannot open your screen and say, this is what I'm applying. What do you think about this? No, but they'll be able to answer you like general questions about eligibility, about the project that you're thinking about, but they will not be reviewing your application for you. That will be considered, a conflict of interest. So, and then is matching funding required? I think I already talked about this. So matching funding is when they tell you, we're only giving you 50, your project is 100, where is the remaining money coming from, right? So if it's matching funding that they're asking you to get, then you want to be sure that you have answers to how you're going to get the balance for the money. And sometimes if you've gotten funding from one organization, you are allowed to put their name there. This is also tricky because if you don't have matching funding and you say you have it, some of them would ask you when they're reviewing your application to show an evidence of the matching funding. And in that moment, you may get stuck. You may be considered, like somebody who does not have integrity. If you already said that you have it and now you're saying you don't have it, what you could do in such a case is that if you already put forward the application, you could say that it's in review. Like we've submitted, but we haven't heard back from them. That's a better way to say to answer that question than to say that, oh, you have the funding when you don't have it. All right, so is it a grant, is it loan, is it subsidy, or is it internship? Again, you have to know which one that you're focusing on. So there's some funding for internship positions, which is, oh, we have this money to pay the staff to work in your organization for a year, sometimes for 6 months, sometimes for 18 months. And then there could also be grant to say, this is the grant you're getting for this for this work that you're doing. And some people explore loans. That's a little tricky because if you're looking for money for nonprofit, for example, and you're going after loan, how do you want to pay back? But if it's a business and you're sure that you'll be able to get the money, or you'll be able to make money from the business to pay the loan back, then you could do that. All right, I think I have a question in the chat. Okay, somebody just said yes. I'm not sure what that was for. Okay. All right, so now the big question. When I started, I talked about sustainability. What is your sustainability plan? So for new organizations or new businesses, this can be a little difficult question. I've been in the nonprofit sector for over 15 years, and sustainability is always a big, big challenge. Like, I started from Nigeria, and even in Nigeria, I worked with an orphanage, worked with shelter and community programs and all of that, and we're always thinking about the sustainability factor. So it's a big piece. However, I put it here so that you can continue to reflect about how to make your work sustainable. So we at Afro Women and Youth Foundation, for example, we've been working since 2019, and we still haven't figured the sustainability piece. So which means we cannot say that, oh, we're good for the next 5 years, or we're good for the next 3 years. No. We're always looking for funding, always looking for money to keep that staff to be able to do their work, to be able to pay for rent. So when you don't have money for those things, what do you do? Again, it comes with a lot of creativity, adaptability. Could you use a community space? Could you share space with an organization? But again, while you're putting out all these funding applications, you want to be thinking about sustainability factor. Some of them would ask you, and they want you to answer that question. It is left to you to know how you want to answer it. A lot of times people say that, oh, we will continue to search, or we have submitted some applications, and we're hopeful that, we will get some funding, right? So, but again, this piece is very, very important. Any questions at this time? Okay, I think I have to move fast. We only have a few more. All right, so application requirements, what kind of documents is needed? All the time there will be need for budgets, a work plan. You have to describe how you're going to deliver the project. Letters of support, not always needed. I've seen people who put it in the application when it's not needed. Personally, I don't do it when it's not a requirement, or when I don't think it makes the application stronger. But again, people do it. So if you think that there's an organization that can give you a letter of support, you could explore that and put that to kind of strengthen your application. Again, check very well and be sure that it's strengthening your application and not taking away from it. What is the credibility of that organization? How long have they been doing their work? Have they been successful with that funder in the past? You have to ask yourself all of those questions. Proof of incorporation, that's just the documents that shows that you're registered. Do you have it? Audited financials is another one. Again, just a financial report may be enough when you're new, but when you've been existing for a couple of years, they could ask for audited financials. Again, depending on your revenue, or depending on your annual budget. So if your budget is on the high side, then you could need to drop an audited financials, which is they want to see how you've spent the money. So we started as, we were a registered organizations, not organizations. We're only one organization, but we've always had a bookkeeper who helps us with our bookkeeping. So when I say bookkeeper, I don't mean somebody who is working and gets paid every month. No. So at the beginning, it was just somebody who comes maybe once or twice or every quarter to check our books and see, okay, the first year, maybe we only had $3,000, but with the $3,000, it helped us to do the filing and everything that we needed to do. And at the end of the year, we had a financial report to say, this was the 3,000 we got this year, this was how we spent it. And as we continue to grow, we have also continued to have somebody coming to do the bookkeeping for us. And in the last 2 years, we've had a bookkeeper who works with us every month, as a contract person, and helps us to review the books, helps with payroll, and helps with every financial reporting that we're required to do. And last year, we were for the financials for last year, we were able to move forward to audited financial statements. So that's a progression. However, if you're able to get started with clear bookkeeping from the beginning, it just helps your journey to be able to continue to do things correctly and be able to meet all the financial requirements with CRA and all of that if you're in the nonprofit sector. Again, even if you're a business person, of course, there's also requirements for your income and expenditures and all of that. So then what is the deadline and application window? You want to be sure that you're checking the deadline and the application window. What can you do? Do you need to get some people to help you review? What can you do on a daily basis? Even if it's only 15 minutes to kind of work on that application. Is there a pre-application step? Some people have a letter of intent. You put that up or you put that forward, and then they invite people who are eligible. The letter of intent is also tricky. You want to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements, because if you put forward a letter of intent that is not strong, then you don't get a chance to get an invitation for the main application. Are there specific forms or online portals to use? You want to be sure that you're familiar with that portal. And if you're having difficulties, it's better to reach out to the organization for some tech support. And this is where it gets tricky. If you're starting your application late and you're having difficulties with the online portal, then you may not be able to get the help that you need. Because when the application deadline is approaching, the portals get really busy, and sometimes you could be having some technical issues. But if you get it done early and you're about to submit, way longer before the deadline, then you'll probably be able to get things sorted. If you're having difficulty, they can jump on a call, a phone call, a virtual call to help you out. Another thing is the coaching availability. So some of them have coaching that they're able to get you on a call, 20 minutes call, and you can book those maybe 2 or 3 times to answer your questions. You want to be sure that you're putting all of this into consideration when you're writing application. Reporting and accountability. So what are the reporting requirements? What do they want to see? Some of them want to see the invoices. They want to see the receipts. They want to see, a visual or a report that states, oh, we gave bus tickets to 20 people, right? And some people don't want to see all of those things. You want to be sure that you know what the requirements is or what the requirements are. However, whether they're asking or they're not asking, when you're submitting your reports, you want to be sure that you have the financial reports. It's tricky. Sometimes they're not asking, but they want to see. So if I'm putting my money into something, I want to see how it is spent, right? So because some people will give you like a reporting template and some will not give you reporting templates. However, you want to be sure that you have all the details. And the best way to do it is when you get a funding or you get a grant for a project, you kind of put, so this is 5,000 and this 5,000 is for Women's Wellness Circle. For example, I'm using one of the projects that we run at Afro Women. So I have a program coordinator who draws the budget for that, who goes every time that there's a purchase being done. Maybe it's bus tickets for the women, it's refreshment for the women. She gets the receipts and put it on the spreadsheet. And that way, visually, we can be able to see, this was how much we put into this. This was how much we budgeted for bus tickets. This is how much we have spent now. This is how much we budgeted for food. This is how much we have spent. So that way, you're not looking for money that is not missing at the end of your project. It's easy for you to track. And don't forget, you also have like a bookkeeper or somebody who's also coming to kind of help you review. That makes their work easier. And if you're using QuickBooks, very, very good. It also makes your work easier on QuickBooks if you have that documentation for every project. All right, so are there restrictions on how the funds can be spent? So there's also always eligible and ineligible cost. So some people will say that the money cannot go into rent, for example. Some people will say the money cannot go into staff salaries. It can only be for the project. So for example, we run a project that is called Sports for Mental Health, and we have grant for that project, and it goes into paying the coaches for their time, buying jerseys for the children, or maybe refreshments and all of that. So you have to know what's eligible and what's not eligible. And you have to just work with that when you're writing your application. How soon do I need to deliver results? Some would say some funding have timelines, like maybe between winter, January to April, or January to March. So you're also checking, can I meet up with this timeline, right? Can you meet up? Can you not meet up? Meet up, what do you need to do? Do you need more volunteers to work with you? What could you do? Again, you're also checking to know that you can deliver on the project. Relationship building and support. All right. So this one is very important. So my own approach is to always reach out and see if I can get a meeting with the funder, if I can have a coaching call with them, if I can talk to them over the phone. That is very, very important. And why it is important is that when you have such meetings, you're able to kind of figure out, is this going to work out well or not? And you can't tell because there's a lot of people always also looking for the money that you're looking for, especially if you're in a growing community like Sudbury, where things are coming up and immigrants are coming and the community is growing. You could even find projects that are like very similar to what you're doing, so that people looking for money. And some of these people are looking for money in the same place that you're also looking for money, or with the same funder that you've gotten money from before, so it's a little tricky. So you can't really know if you get the money or not. You just want to put your best foot forward. So having that call can help you to know, okay, maybe this is going to be a waste of my time. Some will tell you, I don't think your project aligns, like bluntly. And the person telling you that is sometimes part of the people who would decide. Sometimes they don't have anything with the people who are going to decide. Some funders have like a list of, their review team and all that information about them on their website. So overall, whatever strategy, whatever is happening, having that contact is very helpful. It helps you to kind of, rate things and see if, you can move forward. Sometimes they give you tips on how to make your application stronger. Sometimes they tell you about similar projects that they funded. So if they're funding a project in your community and it's still ongoing, then maybe they're not likely to fund you. If they're funding a project in your community and they've stopped funding it, maybe they can fund you. If they've never funded anything in your community, maybe you have a higher chance, So, but that's just helpful for you to kind of know and figure out things. So information session, are there past recipients that you can learn from? This is also a very good one. However, some people want to do work similar to what you're doing, or maybe not similar, and they don't want to have any connections with you. That's also very fine. But people who have gotten funding from the same funder in the past may be able to share some tips. Some people have also gotten the funding and they don't want to share any information because they think you're probably going to make their own application less stronger. It's a little tricky. However, don't be discouraged. Reach out to people and see if you can get support. The only thing is that you don't expect people to write your grant application for you. They can share ideas, give you tips and all of that, but not writing for you. Those who write for people get money for the writing that they do. So if they say, okay, they're a grant writer and they do the job for people, then be sure that they are getting paid for the service because it's a lot of work to be doing. I don't write for people. I write for our organization. So I don't charge for that, but I review for people who kind of already done the work and they just kind of want some ideas or some suggestions. In some cases, not in all cases. All right, so risk and sustainability is another one. I think we've talked about sustainability a lot. I'm just going to skip this. Again, you're thinking, how do I get this work going? If I don't get the funding, can I still do the work? You have to figure that out. All right, in terms of key considerations for writing a successful application, understand the requirements and mandatory or optional components. What are the important things and what are the optional things? Make notes of what limits and submission instructions, understanding funders' mission, values, and priorities. Tell your story. What is the story behind the work that you're doing? So at Afro Women and Youth Foundation, if you know us and know the work that you're doing, you know that I started because of my daughter's experience in Toronto as a newcomer woman, and that has continued to be our story. However, there's been other stories that we see evolving from the project, right? So again, what is your story? What is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing, right? Again, you could also add that when you're writing applications. Define the problem. What is the problem? What is the solution that you're bringing? And what is the expected outcomes that you would get if you get the funding? Use specific examples, measurable data. So what are the metrics, testimonials that you've gotten, case studies or past projects? If you've been working for a year, even if it's just a year, you should have people who can talk about what you've done, how your work has impacted them in 1 year. Could you put that as an impact story? Could you put that as a feedback, and have that maybe somewhere on your website, or have that, as something that is visible? There's a lot of videos that we see online about impact stories and feedback and all of that. Again, what does your social media presence look like, right? So when on our page, if you scroll down on Afro Women's page, you'll see our very first social media post in 2019 in the shelter. So again, don't wait until you become big. From your little beginning, from your small step, from your first project or your first event, the photos, you want to have them somewhere, have your social media page, be visible. You understand? Very, very important, because they're going to ask you for your websites, for your social media handle and all of that. And they're checking those things. It doesn't mean that that's how they decide, but it just helps them to have a little bit of understanding about the work that you're doing. All right, provide realistic and plan and budgets. State what differences your project has from existing ones. So is your work closely related to another work, or maybe in your community? This is really tricky when you're looking for money in your community. So if you're looking for money in your community and it's looking like you're duplicating a work that is already existing, that can be a little challenging. But if you're looking for money, like, maybe federally or provincially, that can be okay, because nobody's really saying, how you are kind of doing something that is similar, right? But a lot of times it's always better to have something that is unique that you're doing, something that is unique, something that is really, really special and needed. And you can, really say that this is an area that is like, you can stand out and have a lot of, maybe new ideas. People love new things, right? So very, very important. Then review and get feedback from an experienced grant writer, or maybe your board team. So if it's a nonprofit organization, you have a board. And it's always important when you're recruiting board members, it's good to have people who already have some experience, and other times maybe people who are willing to learn, because not everybody can have all of the experience, but people who are willing to learn, who can go and say, okay, I can search and, do some research about this. That way you all can come on a Zoom and look at the grant application together just before you submit. And that way you can make it stronger and somebody can identify gaps and put things together. All right, so capacity building, very important. You want to be sure that you're building strong partnerships. And when I say partnerships, I mean partnerships in your community, with funders, with community members, building strong partnerships, collaborating and complement existing organizations. Again, this is also tricky. Not everybody is interested in collaborating, and that's totally fine. You can also stand alone or have some people that you're comfortable collaborating with. Whichever way, it's always important to kind of work together when it's possible and when you feel comfortable about doing it. Leverage community assets. So if you're a new organization or you're starting a new project, what resources could you use? Could you use the library space? Could you use a shared space in the community? Could you, if you have an organization that they have their own space, could you share space with them, right? So think about what you could leverage when you don't have all the money that you need. Use strategic fundraising approaches. So you could think about grants, events. For example, Afro Heritage, they have this event at the beginning of every year that they do. There's also YWCA, the Women of Distinction event. Events like that, some people use them as fundraising, right? So again, you could also consider that. Social enterprise. Could you do a project that you'd have to maybe have money coming in, while you're still making social impact? That's also another thing. Fundraising, donor campaign, in-kind support. I talked about how we started and an organization donated office equipment for us, laptops, computers, printers, and all of that. Could you get in-kind support? Do you have volunteers who can help you with the work that you're doing? Use testimonials. If you've worked for maybe some times or maybe a year or 6 months, you should have people who have been impacted by the work that you're doing, and they can share some, some feedback, testimonials, impact story, whatever you want to call it. Could you put that into maybe a short video? Could you put that into a blog, or maybe just put it at the bottom of your website to say testimonials, right? Build capacity of team members. I've been writing grant applications from 2019 that we started Afro Women and Youth Foundation, and I can boldly say that I have somebody on my team now who does grant applications. We have the summer job position, and she was the one who practically did that application. So she gets to do it, and I kind of just review and make some comments and make some adjustments, and we submit. And that's how people learn. And she's not been doing grant writing before. So if you're doing it for your organization or you're trying to learn to do it, is there somebody else that you could also be helping to learn that skill? It's helpful for you. And don't worry about if they leave you. It's okay. People grow, right? But you know that you've empowered and supported them, right? Very, very important. Stay transparent and accountable. And this is very, very important, in terms of finances, especially. What does your record look like? Where the money that you got, where is it going? Are you using it for what you said you're going to use it for? Be flexible and adaptive. So if the funding stops, what would you do? What could you do? We all saw that NOBIP, their funding for space wasn't renewed, but they're still working virtually, right? The work is still moving forward. So what could you do if you don't have the funding that you're looking for? So key considerations for project: align project with organization's mission and vision. That's your own mission and vision. And then SMART goals and KPIs and evaluations, your internal evaluation, your external evaluation. So internal could look like your surveys, your feedback forms, and all of that. And external evaluation could look like you having a professional evaluator work with you. So, and that can be added to the budget if you have bigger projects. So you already incorporate that into the budget, and that way you're doing your internal evaluation. But there's also somebody who is not part of your organization, who's not gonna have any bias or anything. Just come in, do their work, check what you said you were going to do, check what you have done, and gives you that report. And that report is part of what you give to your funder. Nothing has to be touched, just the same way. And they usually do their own key performance so they do their interviews with the project participants and kind of check your internal evaluation and all of that before they do their report. So stakeholder engagement is another one. The people who have the money in your community, where are they? Where are they meeting? What kind of events are they going to? And are you showing up at that event and at those events to connect with them, to have conversations? Very important. If you're not able to go, is there somebody on your team who can go and say, oh, I'm from this organization, this and this is what we do. Take this, maybe a card or brochure or something, connect with them. Ask for coffee chats. Like, are you available for a coffee chat? Can we, have a coffee together, maybe Wednesday evening or something? I'd like to share my project idea and see if there's any opportunities for funding or for support from your department or from your agency. Very important. And some people just phone calls, some people just emails, but make sure that you're making you're initiating those relationships and engaging with stakeholders. And then have visible projects. And when I say visible, I mean the work that you said you're doing. Where is it, right? So I feel like I have a good social media presence, but it didn't just start like yesterday. I've been building that presence over the years. So if you check, if you do an audit on your on yourself on social media, what is it going to look like? So because your presence can also be connected to your business presence, right? And if you're not, some people don't want to put themselves out there for whatever reasons, that is very fine. But make sure that the work that you're doing, which you're going to be looking for money for, is out there and visible. So that can look like you making sure that you are on key social media platforms, right? Be on Instagram, be on LinkedIn, be on Facebook, be on TikTok if you can. Right? Those small videos are also very important. Again, you're making sure that you're projecting the work that you're doing. Develop a comprehensive and adaptable project plan. And this can be like, okay, this one project plan or project description. And then when there's funding, you can easily adapt and kind of see if you can change things a little bit. And if you have more than one project, maybe you want to have, multiple of those and have them in a folder. And when there's funding applications, you can see which one can you put forward for this application. Build a strong project team. So this is also, don't think about you having, all the money right now, but even if it's just one or two people working with you, can they do the job like you would do it? Will they be able to do the work like you will do it, whether you're there or not? Will the work continue? And, it's different when it's volunteering, but when it's a paid position, you want to be sure that you're providing all the support and building the capacity of the people on your team. When you're growing, you want the people to also be growing Very, very important. And people know when they're being supported to grow, to develop. How are you sharing opportunities with them, right? The things that you know would develop them, or that you know you could even get by yourself, but you have it and you're also sharing with them. Very important. Monitor budget and resources rigorously. I talk about how you could have a project, but you're kind of monitoring how you're spending the money. You said you're going to get 10 bus tickets. How are you getting 50 bus tickets? Where is that money coming from? You want to be sure that you're monitoring your budget and expenses. Okay, I feel like my time is fast spent. Karen, are you still there? Can we take questions or we can wrap up?
We can take 2 questions and then
okay.
wrap up.
So yeah, 2 questions, and then you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and my personal website, adeboladefioye.ca. So thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see faces to be able to answer questions. Yeah.
I would like to say thank you to you, Adebola, and the Nobit team. I learned a lot tonight.
Oh, that's good.
And it was a great topic.
Oh.
My question is, let's say you submit a grant application, and then they told you like, we're really interested in your the reason why you submit the application, but it was at this time they cannot choose yours, but they really wanna work with you lately. So I would like to know how we can handle that. If it's like let it go, let's say when they will have any other opening, you can like book an appointment with an expert or one of their team, like you was mentioned before, and then to work with closely, and then that you can get approved the next time.
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, I said at the beginning that I'm going to be sharing my experience, my journey. That's how I speak most times. I speak from my personal experience and maybe add some little research here and there. So this is a very good question. And I like it because I've had this experience before. So we have the project that is called Sports for Mental Health. So the first time we reached out to the funder, actually the first 2 years, they said that they're not able to fund us for the project. And I saw that they fund a lot of sports activities around Canada. And I'm like, is it because we're new? I thought, okay, we're not so new, but we don't have like a lot of funders, right? And we've never had any funder for sports programming. So I think it was the 3rd year. So what I did was to continue to check in to say, I just wanted to let you know that, you know, we're doing the work already. The work is ongoing. It's volunteer-based right now. However, we're still looking forward to your support. And I just do that. So at some other time, I would also do, like, if there's a link to maybe a YouTube video that we have, I can send that to them. So one day I just got an email to say, are you available for a call? And I jumped on the call, and that was how we have them right now as a funder for the sports program. So I think most importantly, keep in touch with them. The fact that they said they're interested in your work, but they're not able to fund it right now, shows that there's possibility in the future. And that future can be the next 2 or 3 months or 6 months. And you have to know when the next application will open, because they don't have the capacity or the luxury of time to be checking for you and be saying, oh, we told somebody we'll get back to them. No, you have to be the one, you know, staying and checking and following up. Again, you don't want to make it uncomfortable. You don't want to send emails every week to say, oh, I'm still here. You know, just checking once in a while to know. And the most important thing is to be sure that you know when the next application will open. Does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think I have. Yes.
Thank you, Adi, for the insightful about grant writing. Just a quick one. In your own experience, how has it been like in terms of collaborations and partnerships in grant writing? I'm asking this question because I don't know others, but for myself, like I'm a startup, I'm getting into this kind of work in not-for-profit, but I'm also looking how to meaningfully build good relationships for collaborations and future partnerships in grant writing, because some of these calls, they will ask for a certain financial statement, which I don't have, but another organization may have it. What has been your experience? Then lastly, maybe this question goes to Novi. Karen maybe could answer it. Is there a way how members can also work with you to apply for grants so that we have that immunity from Novi? Because you already have a higher standard and chances of being accepted. Not that being accepted, but being like the mother organization when we apply. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The first question that is mine, I'll leave the second one for Novi. So honestly, I have never written grant applications in collaboration with any organization. So, and I say that so I can collaborate to say, oh, we're sharing space, we can collaborate on, running programs together. But to say that I write grant application with another organization, I have never done that. And this is because it's a little tricky, because if you're moving forward with that, you want to be clear about a lot of things. So which organizations has like maybe the strongest presence or knowledge and or possibilities. So you're kind of checking that, and after checking that, you also want to be clear about what is each organization bringing to the table. So who is going to be running the project? So for example, we have a community space, right? We have a staff team who helps to deliver projects. So if I'm collaborating with an organization to write grant application and they don't have space, if we're going to be using our space and they don't have a staff, like they don't have anybody on payroll. So how do we kind of agree about which money goes to which organization? You understand? So if anyone is moving forward with that, I would say ask those questions first and have answers before you propose a collaboration for grant writing. You understand? So there's also something that some agencies do. It's called like non-profit mentorship. So organization mentor. It's available at Ontario Trillium Foundation. So they are there, this big organization or charitable organization, they're there to kind of support you and get the money and disburse to smaller organization. But they also get a percentage of the money. So that percentage gets some smaller organizations uncomfortable. So if you're getting 100,000, for example, and it's 10,000 that goes to the mentor organization, what does that look like for you? That's 10,000 from the 100, right? So again, it's left to every organization or new organizations to decide how they want to move forward with collaborating on grant application. It is tricky and can be a little difficult. You just have to be sure that you are clear about all the terms before you move forward. How much are you applying for? Who is going to be doing what portion of the work? And what expenses will each organization be incurring? Are you incurring expenses for space, for staff? Is this other organization just incurring expenses for delivery? You have to decide what percentage. And again, you could also put that forward to the funder to say, we're collaborating and maybe hear what they have to say. So I have never done that, and I'm not sure how that works, but I know that with clarity about the terms and how much you're asking for, how much is going to be going to which organization, what role would each person or which organization be doing, that can really simplify it. Again, you're also sure that you're submitting and you're copying both organizations' emails in all communication. So it's not like one person is the one getting the information and sharing with the other organization. So from the start, when you're communicating, you're copying all of the organizations collaborating on the email. And when the responses comes back to both organizations. You're submitting the name of the two organizations on the application. So that way there's transparency.
Thank you.
I answered your question.
Okay, I think we're done with the questions. We're going to wrap up. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you all for coming this evening. And Adebola, thank you so much. It was a very interesting topic, and I hope that people learned a lot. I know that it's too much information, but if you have follow-up questions, you can send them to me, Kengoma. I put my email in the chat box, kengoma@novib.ca, or you can you can contact Adebola directly. Thank you again for your participation, and I wish you good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time, your questions, and engagement.
Thank you.